of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
And that brings me to something else. Today, I was listening to A.H.A.D. Now, A.H.A.D did a movie. A.H.A.D is on the top of their game. But they have a rap on their soundtrack that speaks about a lot of things that young people could tune in and gain something from. But when they did the movie, they didn't play this particular rap song I'm talking about. And see, we allow them we allow the Caucasians to dictate to us. And so we're just like the Jews, the covers of truth. Anybody that takes the good and hide it behind their back is just as equal to everybody else that do it. If you're not putting good up front, then what is your purpose?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Forget the security. There's no such thing as security.
Yeah.
If you're not in the covenant of Ahezaah, there's no security.
It's an irony in it because the irony is that these guys, they want to stay out of poverty. And the rich man dangled treasures in front of their eyes. And he said, I'll let you through. You like this fame I'm giving you? He said, well, you can't play that. And the guy said, well, I ain't going to play that. But it'll be on my album and people will hear it. But the thing that the Caucasians is pushing is the thing that they want the people to hear. Right. So even though A.H.A.D had that record, can you trust A.H.A.D? You can't trust A.H.A.D. You understand? Because A.H.A.D isn't all for Allah. Right. You understand? A.H.A.D isn't one who they're not ready to die for the true cause of the Lord Most High. And some people think that when we talk about dying for the cause of the Lord, that means come on out here and get ready to die. No, the Lord ain't calling you to die in that way for it. Right. But if it just so happens that you do get physically slain, then know that in that favor of the Lord, when you pass on, you're gonna get that great surprise. Where you're gonna come to realize that heaven really do exist after this life, and paradise is in heaven. But this is something.
And before we go any further, I know that people lack understanding. When we say get slain in the cause of Allah, know that it has to be Allah's cause.
Right.
Ain't got nothing to do with property. Ain't got nothing to do with a stone. Don't have nothing to do with the material things of this world. No politics, no oil, no gold, no nothing. It's the cause of Allah. So you have to fully understand that because one thing that
Let's explain to them what it is, since you touched on that.
Right.
What it is that the Lord wants your service to it. It wants your service. See, no matter how much money you get, no matter how many schools you put up, no matter how much good you do, if you do the good and then follow it up with evil for the devil, for Satan, then you have erased the good that you do. So now, if the Lord gives to you all that you have received and you understand that, then you take that and you give it back to the Lord. You ask the Lord to guide you in everything that you do. You beg the Lord to show you the true way to do. And don't be afraid of losing things that you have gained, because the Lord can give to you in any manner that it chooses to give to you. You know, and that just takes me to a question that the Lord asked me once about being rich or being poor. And it said, I could make you rich right now. I can make you materially rich. Because, I've been struggling, the family have been struggling. I was like, oh, Lord, please. He said, I can make you rich. He said, but if I make you rich at this stage, financially rich, you're going to lose your family. Your family members are going to be lost because they're not developed enough to handle material riches.
Right.
and stay on the course of the way, the path of the way of truth. Right. And me knowing that the Lord could give me anything, I said, Father, that's all right. I'd rather stay this way. I'd rather stay poor, materially poor, than to lose any one soul from you. Yeah. You know? So that was my deal with my Lord at that particular time. The devil had came to me when I was going through my changes before towards becoming enlightened, and it asked me to become rich. So it told me if I follow it, if I do the deal with it, that it'll make me rich. I looked at that and said, nothing's happening, you know, because your richness is only for a little while. If I live to be 1,000 years, that's a little while, and it's nothing compared to eternity. Yeah. The Lord says, so you have to think about the deals you make. You remember what you was talking about? But our people, I'm sorry. Who's on first? We all sorry. A lot of people, though, hear that word that I used to bring them forth. And many people, especially our people, in the condition that they're in, come from the lower level. When they make it to these levels as the Jay-Z and so forth, they have those who have compromised. Now think about what the Lord says, what shall I gain from man to profit the world but lose the soul? Mm-hmm. In the course of the moment, and they think they're doing good, but they think they're arriving at something. Yeah. They have lost so much. Mm-hmm. And the truth that the Lord now is coming now is to bring people back to the awareness that being financially rich and these things in the world, you have lost so much of your connection with it. Yeah. Because now the trial of life come down. Yeah. And I think about the prophet Solomon. He said, above all, I seek the Lord's wisdom, the guidance, right, above the riches. Because of that, the Lord made him one of the richest and wisest kings. And Muhammad said, poverty is my crown. Mm-hmm. I put that above all things in this world, poverty. But he wasn't talking about just material poverty. Right. He was talking about not being rich of the ego, not being rich of the fame, not being rich of the material wealth, not being rich of the dragon, you know, wanting to have everything, but to become a slave to the Lord Most High, man. And I know what we say on this program, and what we say when we speak to people in general. Everyone's trying to survive every day in the rat race of this life. Yeah. And I hear what you're saying. But. And then with that but coming. But how do I survive? Because you need money to survive. But what we make a mistake of many times, we put our wants before our needs. And that's where we get there you go. And then you confuse patience with tolerance and acceptance. See, the Lord, one of the greatest shocks that came to me and greatest surprises that came to me is when I was brought before the Lord after my rebirth. Because, I came in various stages, Because after my rebirth, after I went through those changes, I had a space of time of 3 days where I was taken up, and then so many things was taught to me, shown to me, and just the reality of how the essence of your bodily being would come out and bear witness against you individually, and then how you would not have control of your own tongue. And you find out that you're not the master of your being. You only thought you were. That was one of the great shocks to me, that everything about me was owned by the Creator, you see, and still possessed by the Creator. And I thought, like people of this world think, that we was created and then given our independence to live and do what we will, and then we come back and be judged. Like we got the real choice. So it was such a great opening and awareness to me, and the Lord made me realize that if you raise anything equal to it, then it will disgrace you. Right. And what these people do with all this fame, this wealth, is that they raise those things as equal to the Lord. Like the Lord asked me, you want to be rich? If you be rich, you're gonna lose your family from the path. You'll be rich, but you'll lose your family. And see, when it said that, I knew exactly what it was talking about. The higher path, the real path. Right. What would I want to sit around my family? I'm rich, and I'm looking at all of them, and I know they're going to hell now. Yeah. And then even with their riches, with they being lost, they're going to bring all kinds of problems to me. I might end up spending all my money trying to get myself out of their problems. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, like that trick of the genie. You get the 3 wishes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so
now I understand now what Howard Hughes was saying. I give all my wealth for one day of peace of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know.
Howard Hughes. Yeah.
And all that.
And people didn't understand what he was talking about.
They said they went insane.
Yeah, they said he went insane for saying that. He was insane. He had a clarity, a moment of clarity.
Right.
And in that moment of clarity, when he came out of his anger, when he came out of the war, fighting against himself, on that island that he had owned, he said, I give up my wealth for one day of peace. And the people didn't understand what the peace is he was talking about.
Yeah, just look at how ironic it is. You're talking about all the young people out in the material world, their fame and fortune, how high they are on the level of materiality, but how low they are on awareness. You know, they're just like blind. You know,
Yeah, and people don't know. People see, people see media personalities, and they think that their lives are perfect.
Yeah.
You see,
the people.
The common folk. I had at one time I had a personal how can I say, acquaintance, friend, person in my family, that worked at a pharmaceutical company where they gave out prescriptions and things of that nature. Had so many of those actors as clients with all kinds of ailments, man. And I used to look at these people on TV and say, wow, that one got this, that one got that, that one got this. I never publicized it, I ain't going out here to get sued.
Right.
But I never publicized it. But the fact of the matter is this, that Allah shows they're human beings. They will never show them ailments on television. Unless they're forced, like the brother, like the guy Fox, who did the Back to the Future thing.
Michael J. Fox,
where his ailment showed up. But they're just like us. But our people sit back thinking they're so beautiful because they got their makeup on. You never see what they really look like.
Yeah.
And they think they're so, this one here is all right, I love that one. And if they was to ever meet these people in person, they're being shocked to find out that some of them, they're such racists and such haters and so confused in life about the real deal. And, they just propped up and they taught to say what's needed to be said in front of that camera.
Yeah, that's it.
And I was looking at Ice-T on this thing where they the actor's studio. And I only looked at them for about 15, 20 seconds or so, because I sometimes don't get into them. I'll be like, I can't take this because I know they're going to say something silly that's going to really get my eye. Let me just turn. Right. But he had made a statement. He was saying about a particular actor or actress, Caucasian woman he acted with. And he said, this woman is really nice, really, really nice. He said, let me tell you, I've met a lot of actresses and actors. He said, they're actresses and actors. They're not good people. And you might confuse it. They're not good people. This lady here, she's really a nice person.
Right.
And he just and I turned the TV, because he put it right in perspective. I said, look at that. Look at that. That was so heavy what he just said. What they do in front of the camera, that's not them. That's their act. Every time they're professionals, and every time somebody hook them up with a camera, then they get into the act. And that's why sometimes actors and actresses get so angry when you have those, I forget the name of them photographers, paparazzi run up and catch them out of their character. They get so angry because that hurts them in making their money and, and their contracts with the companies. Because in their contracts, they be telling you, don't be seen doing this, that, and the other. They try to keep them straight, man.
And our people, when I mean about this, talking about the human family. But in the human
people
family,
really believe them. They guide them. They psychologically take them. The actors, and Robert Redford said it best. He said, we are so privileged to be in this position to form and shape the minds of the American people.
The psychology.
You're telling the truth of that too.
Yeah.
How many people heard that?
Right.
All they can see is Robert Redford.
Right. But most of the people are diseducated. We call it diseducated. Caucasians, from Caucasians to African Americans, most of the people are diseducated. Now you got the government, the president and his company using the media big time to take the people off, to enslave the people, to gain military personnel, to get approval for the wars, the beastliness that they presenting, you know. And you can look at them, you know, anybody with eyes to see can see certain individuals, man. They're beasts, man. They're shabby, drunken beasts. But they get in front of that camera and they try to put off what they put off, and you know they certain ones don't make sense. They're less intelligent than some of their cabinet people, you know. And hey, man.
I don't think they're rallying for the cause of freedom anymore. It's clearly they're after material money.
Allah said, Ahezaah said to me that the United States of America, and I told y'all that back in 1995, 1997, that they want to be a police state. They want to police the whole world, and they want to take over the whole world. And the police is the first line of government. So they want to be the first line of government for the government. And the government I'm talking about is the jinn, the hidden government, the all-powerful jinn that hides amongst men or hide behind the scenes and really rule countries. And I'm not talking about the figurehead. Somebody pushing President Bush to do the things he do. Any president that come up, somebody behind them, pushing them and guiding them and telling them what needs to be done. They ain't making the decisions themselves.
And as we're speaking in this conversation here, this thing has gone from inside to the out, but it all goes full circle because the fact of the matter is still the psychology effect that have happened to all people.
Yes.
Not people in particular, is that we have been taken in by the devil.
Yes.
By the devil. So we got to go back to the only most go back to the root.
Yes.
And the root of any problem is that go back to yourself. She let you go back to yourself and then to your parents, your foreparents, all that effect of the Willie Lynch mindset, the trickery that is affecting has come to this day. Like you were talking about the MySpace, for example, you was mentioning about it.
And that's another thing I'd like to say. There's a couple of things I want to point out before our show comes to an end. Is that, you know, if you don't think that you're a product of this so-called Willie Lynch statement, then look and read the article. Read the article for yourself and see can you find yourself in it. Okay, do that for yourself. Another thing I want to express is that this show is not geared to tear people of certain status down.
No attack on Oprah Winfrey. I was just thinking that. Yeah.
This is not meant for that purpose. The reason why we utilize this, speak these people's names is to give you something to relate to, something to think about after the show goes off the air. Because I know that these people are put up front in your mind. I was sitting up here while, you know, the discussion was going on, and I was thinking about, you know, the young ladies out here, young teenage girls, because I have teenage girls too, and how they just, you know, so in love with Beyonce. But just think about this here. The girl is making money because she's pretty, and she's half naked, and she's shaking her body well. Is that what kind of person you want to be remembered as to your children and your grandchildren? My mother, nobody can shake their butts like my grandmother. Nobody could wear that stuff half dressed like my grandmother. You know, it ain't got nothing to do with her voice. Because you know she ain't no top shelf singer. You know, but it's all about the Caucasian utilizing her to put you to sleep. If you notice, they don't have many of their own out there, half dressed, shaking their can, legs. They got very few out there. And we got nothing but videos with girls with thongs on.
Even Madonna.
I'm like,
Judaism.
Then before our children could get involved in the relationship of marriage and love, we already, the girl done shook her naked butt on the TV screen so much, then you have 12 and 13-year-old girls talking about, I think I'm gay. What?
Yeah.
How you don't even know nothing about this stuff? Well, you ain't never been involved. You don't know nothing about love. How you think this is stuff that's being promoted?
Yes.
Boys hanging around with girls, dressing like girls, and you laughing at them. Don't laugh at them because they sick. See, we take this homosexual thing and say they was born that way. Oh, the Lord has not made no mistake.
Just like the Arabs.
That's why it gave us two separate genders.
Right.
And whatever you was born with, that's what you're supposed to be. Ain't nobody born that way. They choose that way. They fed to develop that way. Yeah. We got Uncle so-and-so, he gave it, he all right. No, he's not. No. He's okay if he come around, he act like a man. But if he coming around and he acting like a woman in front of your children gonna become confused.
Yeah.
And you allowing him to carry on like that in front of your children gonna become confused. So all this stuff they're promoting is to bring about a bunch of confusion. And we have so many teenagers out there that are full of confusion. That's why the suicidal rate has gone up. It's filled with a bunch of confusion because we allow them to sit in front of the TV, see these naked women shake their behind. Young boys is looking at that. I was told by Holy Apostle, he made good sense when he said it, because I have young sons. He said, the worst thing a young boy could do is see a young or attractive woman half-dressed.
Yeah.
He said that could haunt them for the rest of their life, could bring about a mental disturbance because they're looking at something they can't have.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? Then we wonder how rape come about, and stalking, and lusting. Well, you're initiating, you're trying to mess up somebody's mind. Because nature is nature.
Yeah.
Nature is nature. You can't alter that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you young people start thinking about things, you know, remember this here. You wasn't born with a gun in your hand.
Right.
So you had to think about, you had to be influenced by somebody that you wanted to all of a sudden blow somebody else's brain out, someone the same color as you. Second of all, you talking about homosexuality.
Right.
That had to be promoted somewhere inside of you. That is not nothing natural about that.
Right.
You know? And then when you thinking about being a star, your future career, because I know a lot of young people don't go to school and they just hang out and do all the wrong things and believe that's being promoted because you think my body is tight and I'm going to be able to shake it like Beyonce and make the money. Don't get caught up. They're not going to have 1,000 of Beyonces out there. Right. They're only going to have a few. They may throw you in a video where all a person sees your backside, because I know when I flick, all I see is the backside. I don't know what girls there with the booty that belongs to. You understand? Yeah. So these are things that you really, really have to sit back and ponder over. Because one day, you know, just like when I passed away, when you pass away, if Ahezaah bless you, you're going to have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I know of my great-great-grandparents. You know, I've asked of them. You know, some of them lived so I was able to meet them. You understand? And it was important to me to know, well, what did they do? They was cotton pickers, peanut pickers. They raised their family. They was poor, but they struggled. They did the right thing. They was wholesome, some of them. Some of them drank. You understand?
But that all has an effect on you.
That all has an effect on you. So you want to not just live for yourself.
So let me say this here. You know, what I want to let the young folks know in terms of what Holy Mother's talking about is that most of you don't realize it. Most of you really don't realize that your world is very small. Yeah. That you have put yourself in a very small box, and through looking at TV and looking through your mind and your imagination, you imagine that your world is very large. But the governors of your societies have made sure that your world stays small, so that they can stay in control of you. Now, with you thinking that your world is so great, you thinking that you're doing the same thing that the people across the country is doing. You know, you feel like you're part of the whole, like the gangsters, the thugs, you know, the Crips and the Bloods. They feel like, well, we got a big gang, man. You know, how many Crips is in the nation? How many Bloods in the nation? No, y'all all small little segments of people, man. You know, who communicate through the media and through the telephone wires and what have you, and letters or what have you. But you're not together. Right. You understand? You're divided. You're all separated. You're all conquered by the master who actually nurtured you and put you in that position, so that when you think you're great and that your world is great, but your world is very small, and the people that you're attacking and killing is your own self in that very small world.
And I'm sorry to cut you, but just one point. Mentioning that, how, like you said, the opposite thing. You even have our people being told, because in the world, people of color are outnumbered Caucasian people, non-black skin. But at the same time, they're giving themselves fertilization pills to other people in the world not to have kids. So they try to perpetuate their families because they know what's going on, how they're destroying this world.
Right. And
our people who, like you said, thinking in a small box, won't look at themselves outside of that to see the bigger picture. You always alluded to us see the big picture for what things really are. And our people will not wake up to that. So things, even in the city of New York, for example, starting already in 2007, they had the biggest highs. They started off with a bang, literally killing other people. They had to shoot over there in Bradley. Baxter Terrace over there. 2 young boys ended up dead. All of it for what? You don't own the corners. You don't own the block. You ain't own the stuff you bring to
don't
sell.
Own the colors.
You don't own the selling stuff you selling.
Don't own the flag.
But you're part of the perpetuation of the psychology again. You knock each other off. The more you kill each other, the more he can sleep better. Back to the mindset of the bullyism.
Yeah.
Sleep better because you knocking, bumping each other off every day.
Instead of our young brothers thinking in terms of becoming powerful leaders,
right?
To break this the inertia of this cycle that we're going through. They think in terms of living fast and hard and making a name for themselves. They want to be gangsters. But how many gangsters do you remember? Huh? I remember Al Capone, because they didn't televise him so much, and Frank Nitti, and Dutch Schultz, and what have you, but, and those were Italian gangsters, you know what I mean? But how many gangsters do you remember from the black folks? The only ones, see, your world is so small, brothers and sisters. Well, after you die, the only one's going to remember you is your blood family. Yeah. Your blood family and those who were directly associated with you. And when them balloons and candles go out, and the spot that you put your little thing set up, when your little shrine, when that's gone, you're gone. And you're just, the city gonna come and clean up the spot. They ain't gonna even honor you and keep that up there.
Our attention span is so short.
It's so short. And then they go to the next one, going off.
Let me just say this thing here too, because, young people, we're trying to educate you, because I had a funny experience last year. Took my sons away to down south, and we was traveling and everything, and they came to a realization that the black people in this country is not 1/2. We're only what, you say, 1/3?
Maybe 1/3. I know we got about 40-something million or so, if that is correct. And they got about, Caucasians got about 200-some odd million.
Just reached 300 million.
300 million.
Right.
Okay, and then you got the Hispanics and you got all the other,
So you just think of this here. If there's 40 million of us and 300 million of Caucasian people, we way behind. Oh, way behind the 8-ball, and I will bring that up because young people, they got the 8-ball jackets back out, they selling it. We're not going to have enough time to get into this, but I just want to let you know, don't buy them. They always create styles as an insult to you. There's a history behind the 8-ball. We'll do that on another show. But there's always subtle insults, and I would love to go into that on our next show. But what I was saying to you is that as we traveled from Newark down to Virginia, my children saw all this land, all this greenery and everything, and they said to my father, they was like, "What is all this?" And he said, "People don't live in the city like y'all." The mass of the people is out in the country, in the rural area. So even though the city of Newark and New York and all that seem big, know that it's small.
That's all that is.
Yes, very small to what's really out there.
We want to thank you for taking time with us on our family. I had moments, the Calm Cornerstone. We don't thank you for tuning in. If you want to reach us by correspondence, you can do that. A.H.A.D Incorporated, Post Office Box 8795, Newark, New Jersey 07103. A.H.A.D Incorporated, Post Office Box 8795, Newark, New Jersey 07103. It has been an A.H.A.D moment. Now you just peace on us. Have a good evening and have a good
right. To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you